I'm going to give you the updates this year, and luckily there have not been that many changes when it comes to individual income tax. One change, which is nothing new for year after year, the exemption allowance has gone up. It is now up to $28.50 for each individual on the 2025 tax return. The due dates this year, we are not having to mess with any weekends or holidays, so all money will be due on April 15th of 2026, but everybody is granted an automatic extension to file the return until October 15th. Again, money is due on April 15th. There is no extension to pay the tax return. There is only an extension to file the tax return. So the money is due on April 15th. If you fall into the threshold where you're required to make estimated payments, quarterly 2026 estimated payments can be made in 4 equal installments based on either 90% of your expected liability for the current year, which would be 2026, or 100% of the tax liability for the prior year, which would be 2025. It's based off the lesser of the amounts. So 90% of the current year, 100% of the prior year. Do that in 4 equal quarterly installments. Those due dates are April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and January 15th. Again, we're not having to mess with any weekends or holidays. If you do not, when it comes to estimated payments, if you do not get your money evenly throughout the year, make sure that you're doing an annualization on your tax return. And to do the annualization, you'll need to do the form IL 2210. When it comes, just a little basic information on estimated payments. You must make estimated payments if you expect your liability for the tax year to exceed $1,000. After you subtract out your withholding, any pass-through withholding payments, and tax credits. And the tax credits that you can subtract out are going to be the credit for tax paid to another state, any education expenses for your kids' education in grades K through 12, any property tax credit, volunteer emergency worker credit. Those three, the education, property tax, and the emergency worker credit, all show up on your schedule ICR. If you have Illinois earned income tax credit, you can subtract that out. If you have a pass-through entity tax credit, you can subtract that out. If you have a child tax credit, which this is the second year we've offered that, you can subtract that out, as well as anything for an individual that's listed on your 1299C as far as income tax subtractions and credits. You will likely need to make estimated income, estimated payments if your income is either fully or partially exempt from Illinois withholding. And if you're doing a joint tax return, you're going to figure your estimated payments on your joint income. We do, if you're making estimated payments, you do those with a 1040 ES voucher. And with the 1040 ES voucher, which is for estimated payments, there is a worksheet to help you go through and calculate this. I always tell everyone the easiest way to do this is to base it off of 100% of the prior year's taxes. Because when you're making that first estimated payment that is due April 15th, April 15th of 2026, I'm not going to have an idea of how much I'm making exactly for 2026. But I've just filed my 2025 tax return, so I know what I made the last year. So I can take my 2025 tax return, subtract out that list of credits if I have any, and then I can calculate my estimated payment based off of that. If I pay more in estimated payments, then I will have it refunded to me when I file my tax return the following year. If for some reason I would still end up owing more than $1,000, as long as my 4 estimated payments totaled the 100% of my prior year's tax liability and they were made timely, I would not be subject to this penalty because I met the qualification of the lesser amount, which would have been 100% of the prior tax year. So I always consider that like my safe harbor rule when I'm explaining this to people, because those are figures I know I can use to calculate my estimated payments. Basing it off of 90% of the current year, it gets a little tricky at times because what if you get an influx of income throughout the year? Then you've got to go back and readjust and everything. But if you've got your prior year's return done, That is the easiest way to calculate it. 100% of the prior year's tax liability is the easiest. As far as changes for the IL 1040, you're not going to notice a lot of changes. Some of them are just cosmetic, some of them are changing spacing and federal line references, things like that. But one thing that has been changed is up at the top where you list your name and address and social security number, there is a box and it used to say year of birth. Now we want date of birth. And it's not because we're going to send you a birthday card or anything. It's just so if we need to run, we can use it for demographics because then we have the date of your birth right there. In addition to changing it on the IL 1040, we've also changed it on the amended return just so we're consistent across the board. Uh, the other bit, well, what I consider maybe a big change, and it's really not even that big of a change, is we've changed some wording down at the bottom of the IL 1040. In step 12, where it talks about the health insurance checkbox signature, we have changed some of the wording regarding that, and we've added in 3 checkboxes. And this, you can mark this if you do not have health insurance and you would like some more information on how to obtain health insurance. By filling this out, it gives us permission. You're giving the Department of Revenue permission to share this information. And we're only going to share certain, we'll show your name and address and your income. And it goes to, for the state's health insurance marketplace for Get Covered Illinois. And you can mark on there, is this insurance for you? Is it for your spouse? Or is it for your dependents? By filling all this out, we can provide you information on what plans you might qualify for or how to obtain it, and we will forward that to the correct state agency that handles that. We just provide the information to the appropriate places. We're not going to say, okay, here's where you can go to get your insurance. That's the changes for the IL 1040. Nothing big. Everybody likes it when there's nothing major when it comes to the IL 1040.